a quiet conspiracy, hidden beneath the surface of what seemed like the perfect marriage.
Like I say, seeing them both together, they were just hugging, kisses, and just happy.
Husband Robert Lyman was a devoted father, friend, and railway worker, until one ordinary day at work turned into his last.
Robert Lyman was returning from a day of work in the field when he was shot and killed. It happened back in August at the rail shop on Goodrich Drive in Tehachapi.
Gunned down in broad daylight, what initially seemed like a random act of violence turned out to be a plot so calculated that it took detectives years to unravel.
At this point, we have not identified any other person or persons we believe are responsible for Mr. Lyman's murder.
Was this the tragic end of a love story gone wrong, or was it something far more sinister?
I need you to tell me more. I know you know a lot more than you're telling me. You're not going to be able to just forget about this. This guy murdered your husband in cold blood.
When romance turns into deception and faith is a mask for murder, who is truly to blame? But more importantly, what really happened to Robert and who would want him dead? Sabrina and Robert Lyman were, by all accounts, the it couple among their friends. The two had met in 1997 while attending a Quartz Hill, California high school and quickly fell head over heels for each other. The charismatic and adventurous duo were described by family as the perfect pair, so it was no surprise that within 3 years of meeting, they were happily married and settled in Hellendale, California, eventually moving to the close-knit community of Silver Lakes. Both Sabrina and Robert were equally extroverted people, and to feed their social appetite, they regularly threw house parties where friends would gather to enjoy music, alcohol, and lively conversation well into the night. Even with 2 children of their own and Robert's job at the BNSF railway yard, the pair maintained a very active social life and frequently went on adult vacations, took boating trips, and went out on the town to mingle. But few people knew just how friendly the Lymans really were. In 2008, Robert, age 32, and Sabrina, age 28, decided to open up their marriage and began engaging in entanglements with other married people. In other words, they started swinging and swapping spouses with other couples, starting with the couples in their friend group and eventually branching out to other open couples in the area. The act of swinging added an exciting touch to their relationship that the couple hadn't experienced from any party or vacation trip, and Robert, specifically, was infatuated with the practice. From the outside looking in, Sabrina and Robert were living the dream and enjoying life to the fullest. But Sabrina's true feelings were only known by a few select people, namely Robert and her sister Julie Cordova. According to Julie, after 4 years of hooking up with other couples, by 2012, 32-year-old Sabrina was secretly tired of being in an open marriage and wanted the couple to go back to church to strengthen their own relationship. For her, the excitement had long passed, and she'd since become a devout Christian who no longer wanted to look outside of their marriage for happiness and thrills. And she eventually worked up the courage to express her feelings to her husband, but Robert, on the other hand, loved their carefree lifestyle and simply refused to change it. Unlike her, he was completely happy with the way they were living and saw no reason for them to stop. As one can imagine, their now opposing views drove a wedge between them, and behind closed doors, they began to butt heads often. Sabrina was particularly affected by the situation, so much so that she turned to the bottle to cope with her husband's insistence that they continue sleeping with other people. Her sister Julie later stated that around that time, Sabrina was drinking so much all the time that she was pretty numb. Even though she continued to give in to her husband's desires, Sabrina also continued to express her newfound religious values and her desire to revert back to an exclusive marriage, but Robert enjoyed the thrill of extramarital romance too much. Little did he know that his decision would trigger a series of events that would ultimately result in his own demise. On August 17th, 2014, around 6:45 p.m., police were called to the BNSF railway mechanical facility in Tehachapi in response to a shooting. Officers and paramedics rushed into the building and were directed to the facility's break room, where 38-year-old Robert was lying on the floor in a pool of his own blood. A quick examination found that he'd been shot once in the chest and once in the head, resulting in an immediate death. He'd reportedly been working a 12-hour shift at the shop alone and was only discovered when the employee who was scheduled to relieve him arrived at the facility. While there were signs of a struggle inside the break room, there were no signs of forced entry, and nothing was stolen from Robert or the facility, which indicated that this wasn't a random killing or a botched robbery. Judging by the state of the scene, it appeared that whoever had done this had come for one reason and one reason only: to take Robert's life. The hunt for Robert's killer immediately began, and the very first step for detectives was to review the facility's surveillance camera footage. But there were no cameras inside the building, and the only useful footage from outside the building showed Robert returning to the building after leaving to grab lunch and walking towards the break room around 5 p.m., shortly before he was murdered. Curiously, the footage didn't show anyone walk in before or after Robert, meaning that the killer likely entered the building through an area not covered by cameras and waited there for Robert to return. Detectives then sought surveillance footage from other establishments in the area, and that's when they found their first clue. Local surveillance caught a suspicious figure riding a motorcycle into the secluded area of the BNSF facility around 4:15, and this same figure was seen walking around the BNSF shop around 5:21, then walking away from the shop 17 minutes later around 5:38. The last time the person is seen is when they're leaving the area on their motorcycle at about 5:48. While the motorcyclist seemed to be the suspect they were looking for, their dark outfit and motorcycle helmet made it impossible to identify the assailant from the footage alone, which essentially left investigators at square one. Later that day, Sabrina was requested to the police station where she was notified of her husband's murder. She was unable to provide the police with any possible suspects. According to her and everyone who knew Robert, he had no enemies and was loved and respected by everyone who knew him. After a short interview, Sabrina was released home to grieve while the detectives continued digging. Weeks turned into 3 months of investigation, but during that time, the valuable evidence that detectives unearthed told a story that no one would have expected. In fact, what they found was so shocking that Sabrina was unexpectedly taken into custody on November 18th and hauled back to the Kern County Sheriff's Office, this time as a suspect in her husband's murder. How did this come to be? We're about to find out right now.
Detective by ID number 410301. This is case number SR 1421701. I'm at headquarters with Sabrina Limon regarding this case. So earlier, you were out at your house and you were going to the school and you were detained by some deputies, correct? Okay. Once those deputies basically read your rights, your Miranda warning, you decided you wanted to talk to an attorney, correct? That's what you told them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt overwhelmed and...
Overwhelmed, okay. Now, so at that point in time, they transported you to headquarters, or I'm sorry, to the jail. And I did have a chance to speak to you at the jail. And I need to basically put it on the record that I didn't force you to come here, that you came here because you decided you wanted to talk to me, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I need to read your rights again. Okay, this is standard procedure of what we do, okay? You have the right to remain silent. Okay. Now, before we get started, what we're going to do is, obviously, when this type of stuff happens, we write lots of search warrants and do lots of investigative work, and which I have done in this case. Okay. I do have a search warrant to obtain your DNA and to obtain your fingerprints and stuff. Okay.
Okay.
The DNA is just done by a swab. Basically, I'll have somebody swab. She'll take pictures of you. We'll do it right here. It won't be in public, okay? And then she'll just swab the inside of your mouth and get a little DNA out of it, and we'll use that obviously to cross-reference that stuff in the system, okay? So she's coming over now. So we've had multiple conversations up to this date, and today is the 19th of November, and it's about 4:45. Okay, so I know that through this investigation, there's been several times when you haven't been honest with me. And we need to get to the honesty right now, okay?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I understand you were probably upset and scared, and you didn't know what to say. So, I know a lot of information, and I can't give this information out, obviously, through the investigation, because I do not want that to be revealed, okay? So I know tons of stuff about all of this that's gone on, and I want you to tell me the truth, okay? I need the truth. So let's start out with, okay, so your marriage, did you lie about any of the, being married to Robert? You met him when you were 18. You guys lived in Prescott, moved to California.
No, that's true.
Okay. So then let's talk about when you started working at Costco. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
How long ago was that?
I was there for almost 3 years.
And do you remember when you started working there?
It was, no, I believe November of 2012.
Okay. In November 2012. So a couple years ago. Okay. So tell me about it. What did you do there?
I was a demo girl. The samples.
So you do the samples and stuff like that? And did you actually work for Costco or work for an independent person?
It was an independent company contracted through Costco.
Doing the sampling stuff, which I actually always feel really guilty when I grab a sample up at Costco. I'm like, anyway, they're good samples, but anyway, they have nothing
No
to do with this.
idea how people come there and eat lunch every day.
Well, that's awesome. So
Samples.
his sample at the lunch, yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand you met Jonathan there. And how'd that go? Talk about when you guys first met.
When we first met, it started, he was wearing a firefighter shirt, and I know other firemen, so I'm a people person, so I started talking, and then he came in there all the time. I saw him all the time in Costco.
What was he doing in there?
Shopping.
Shopping?
Yeah.
For the fire department?
He had shopped for the fire department and just shopping. Costco shopping.
So you guys ended up becoming friendly? Okay. And this is, when did you meet him? So you started in November. At what point do you think you met?
I don't know. Did I start before November then? Because I want to say I met him in, is it December of 2000? I am being honest. I'm bad with dates.
Okay.
So I can't think of exactly when I had met him. But I'd been working there a little while. So it had to have been maybe into the next year then.
Okay.
Because I'd been there a little while.
So maybe early
Probably
2013?
Yeah.
And you guys just started up a normal conversation. What kind of conversations did you guys have? Just basic stuff like, hey, where do you work at? This stuff.
Yeah.
What else?
Just, fire department stuff, just like his calls and, like I said, I'm a people person. I mean, I talk to a lot of people for hours in there, believe it or not. Some people come in there just for the demo girls to...
What other stuff did you guys talk about?
Life and just... Well, if we're going back to him, there was a other party that we were going to, and it was actually other was friends of friends. Okay, so our friends were having a party, and they were fire department people.
Oh,
and so that's what started it. I mean, that's how I gave him my phone number, and I said, "Oh, do you know this couple?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I think so. Like, are you going to that party kind of thing?" And then he's like, "Well, maybe I'll see you there. Like, what's your number?"
The man they're discussing is a 24-year-old firefighter named Jonathan Hearn. There's an important reason why the detective is interested in her history with John, but Sabrina is beating around the bush to avoid telling the detective the whole truth. When she was approached by then 22-year-old Jonathan, the truth is that they immediately made a romantic connection. Sabrina, who later admitted that she wasn't wearing her wedding ring at the time, gave him her phone number, and the two began seeing each other as much more than friends, without her husband Robert's knowledge. Despite the 10-year difference in age, gradually their bond grew from an erotic friendship to a loving relationship and eventually into something more. This fact is particularly concerning for the detective because during Sabrina's initial interview right after her husband's death, they specifically asked her if she was engaged romantically with any man besides Robert, and she flat out told them no. Through further investigation, detectives found out the truth on their own, leading them to wonder why she was so adamant on keeping John a secret.
I had never given out my number to like a stranger before, and I did. I instantly felt guilty, like, oh my gosh. And I had thought prior to that I had mentioned Robert, and I always do. That's like my protection, especially with other men. I always brought up Robert right away. So I'd never done that before, and I felt bad. And but then he called and messaged me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I got myself so I didn't answer it or respond. And he apologized. He was like, "Are you married? I'm so sorry." And then I put, "Yeah, I thought that you knew that. It's no problem. It's okay." And that's how that started.
And you guys had never talked about you being married? Because you guys talk about life. But do you think...
Well, this was in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's when we started, talking about life and more, like a friendship,
Did you feel guilty about that?
The funny thing, after I told him I was married, and he was sincerely and he was sorry. And I felt bad too. I was just like, oh yeah, no worries. It's okay. It's all good. I didn't feel that bad because I'm social. I talk to a lot of people, and Al and I were open. Like Rob he was pretty casual with me.
Okay.
And my relationship with others.
Okay. So he was pretty secure, and he wasn't an insecure type. So after you gave him the phone number for the first time, and he knew that you were married, how much did you guys talk after that? How frequently?
It wasn't a lot in the beginning, and then we just started talking a lot more.
Okay. All right. Now
We formed a relationship.
Okay. We're talking in person and on the phone and stuff like that. How about any meetings after work? Did you ever meet with him after work?
I would see him, yeah.
Okay.
But just for short, just... So a lot of times he'd come in later and then end up walking out with me, kind of.
So at what point did it become a sexual relationship?
A year later. So we talked for...
2014? So this year? Because
Before that.
If you met him in 2013...
Probably, let's say... Probably talked for I am honestly super bad with time and dates.
Okay.
Let's just round about 8 months maybe. Or 6 months or something like that. It wasn't right away, anything like that.
So you said it is about 8 months to a year, and then...
Maybe 6 months.
I'm sorry?
Maybe 6 months.
Maybe 6 months?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's when it started to become a sexual relationship? Did you guys have that relationship at your house, or was it at Costco, or was it at a motel?
It was at our house, and sometimes, wherever.
Okay. And how often do you guys meet up?
A couple times a week, probably.
Okay. And so this was 6 months after... I'm sorry?
Sometimes once a week, or
Just depending on what was happening?
yeah.
Okay. So this was 6 months after you met, or... Okay. So if you met in maybe early 2013... I'm sorry, 2014 this year, right? Or was it?
No, it's been over a year. So
Okay.
probably a year and a half time.
Because at the end of 2012 is right when you think you met him, early 2013. Okay. So mid 2013. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, basic friendship relationship, sexual relationship, maybe once or twice a week. And then, obviously this relationship goes on and on. You guys talked about all kinds of stuff, right? Tell me about, did Rob ever suspect anything?
No, Robert had found my phone.
Tell me about that.
And he wasn't, he's like, who's this dude? And he'd seen him out once before. He'd only met him once. So he was just like, what's up? How did this go down? And I just kind of told him I don't know. It just happened, and Jonathan apologized to Robert. He talked to him. He apologized to him, and we felt bad, and I felt bad, And Rob and I just kind of kept going, you know. And Jonathan and I stopped talking. And how long? Like in Costco, probably like, let's say 3 months later, something like that. And honestly, detective, like, I'm so bad with time, it could have been give or take, or, you know, but it was a little while, and I hadn't seen him.
When did Rob find out, and do you remember when it was, what month it was? Or about what time? Because this is going to be in 2013 he found out, right?
June?
In June of 2013? And what happened that day? And how did he, when he found out about it? What was going on?
He was going to have the next day off. We had been out the night before, and I kind of had too much to drink.
Oh.
And I wasn't paying attention to my phone. So we'd been out the night before, and he'd already taken the next day off, and he just kind of, like, we had, I hate talking about this. This is why I didn't, I know. Like, Rob and I just had sex. Like, he kind of like forgave me. It was kind of like okay. And he'd ask me questions, you know, and I just kind of would answer them as he asked, but then we didn't talk about it. He didn't like to be in like problems, you know.
Now, when he asked you this question, did you tell him the truth, or did you just tell him a little bit of information?
A little bit, not in like detail, but I would answer his questions, you know. And I seriously didn't. I was just like, I don't know how it happened, you know. Like I did tell you, you know, we were distracted with so many things, friends and partying, and we have had open relationships, you know. I threw that at him, you know, so this was prior, and parties and just kind of like that kind of a lifestyle, more like. Now the kids weren't exposed to that firsthand. They were they were exposed to me drinking, you know, like too much. Mom's sleeping, doesn't feel good, kind of thing. Right.
Kind of, we've talked about your open relationship before, and you told me you didn't have one.
I was dreading. I didn't want any of this to come out, you know.
Did you think this would ever come out?
I was, I've been tripping, you know. It's shameful. It's terrible. And I'm feeling it.
Right. I understand. Did you guys have an open relationship, but as you would meet other people at parties and stuff and have sexual encounters? Or was it, okay, it was? Okay.
And that was just kind of like a Rob and I thing we had years ago. There was this couple, and that's where it started. We'd never done anything like that, right. You know, and we were new to Silver Lakes. Robbie was in kindergarten, and man, we met this kooky couple. I mean, the chick for sure, the woman, and but I am a people person. So is Robert, and that was just a crazy experience with her and her husband.
What are their names?
Nicole and Dill.
Oh, okay.
Had you heard about them or no?
No.
Well, they had lived out there, so Robbie was in kindergarten. He's 11 now, so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But that's where the door opened, and Robert was, I hate to talk about him, Ellie, you know, because I don't want to dishonor him, I feel like this is such a dishonor to him. But
He was the man.
yeah, so he was all about it, you know, to the end of the, like, whatever we had to do. And this went on, and oh my gosh, I never had such troubles, you know. And I had told Robert, like, we should not get in too deep with these two, you know. Well, they're divorced now, but it was just kind of one of those things. So it just kind of turned into like, it's just sexual, Brina, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But then, like, I know he liked that kind of stuff online, you know, and just pretty much with any. That was kind of just then. It was just kind of like, well, Brina's cool with it, you know. So
Did you know him having any other relationships, like outside of your marriage, without you knowing?
no, she was one that, you know,
Okay.
she was the only one that I knew. That's why I was wondering too if there was.
And I was honest with you. I don't know of any other relationships. Okay.
Okay.
So did you think it would be okay, I mean, with Rob, if you were seeing Jonathan, because, you know, you guys kind of had that open relationship? Or did you feel...
I guess that's how I justified it, you know? It's kind of like I was just feeling like my own thing, and he was so busy, and he was a just worker and people pleaser and party and not wanting anything to be a mess, even though by the end, you know, I just talked to him. We have to kind of refocus some things, and he wasn't. Now Robert would have done anything, you know, as far as in the moment, just it's okay, no problems, you know. He didn't like me to be upset.
Oh. Okay.
So, and I didn't get upset a lot at him because he just kind of let me get away with quite a bit, and was kind of like the leash, you know. He'd let my leash out, and then I'd run down the street, and then he'd kind of choke it out. Yeah.
Let the buddy go and pull you back, where then? Okay. So this relationship with Jonathan just kind of progressed, huh? Started out with just casual talking to giving the phone number, and then to the sexual stuff.
Into an actual affair in my head, really. I mean, after talking to your partner on the way over, it's just like when the other three guys, like, they had me, it felt different. Like, oh no. But like when he was saying it, it's just like, man, what a web, you know. I'm just spun it.
And it happens, and it easily happens.
I have such a good family. I'm like, it's just like, I can't believe this happened.
Right.
And then, like, to think that, like, that is who I've brought around and have had around, and I just, wow, you know. I mean, we got deep. We got deep.
You and Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
So Rob's going to work, and then he's working overtime shifts and stuff, and Jonathan would be at your house
Sometimes.
late at night when the kids were sleeping or whatever.
Not always, or yeah, if they were gone.
Okay.
Not always. I mean, I didn't want to. My kids, I love them so much, Detective Meyer.
Right.
I didn't want to. But once is once too many, you know?
Yeah. So Jonathan, what did you learn about Jonathan while you guys were dating?
A lot. I mean, you know, saying, you know, I did. I fell in love with him, you know. A lot of things I learned about him. Lots. What do you want to know?
It was everything.
Well, he was like no one I'd I'd ever met before. Very different than the social group that, you know, we were. Smart guy. Really. He's a Christian. Mm-hmm. He grew up really, really religious, and a family of 6. Like, super. He was homeschooled. Mm. And that's a whole different. I'm just finding out the depth of like how you know, obviously different. That's a whole nother lifestyle.
Sure.
Completely.
It's definitely different with the schooling and kind of the separation from general public type thing. Going to being homeschooled, you don't get a lot of exposure. You know.
Just everything is so different.
And were you attracted to that?
Apparently, yeah. I mean, yeah. There was just something that was just really, and I saw things that, you know, there were times where I would just pull back the reins and like, hey, you know, it's, I have my family and I'm doing my thing, and you know, you're doing your thing, so, and we would end up colliding again, you know. And not all, you know, it wasn't just like the sexual, like, let's meet over here. It wasn't like that. Like there was a, you know, and so.
Huh. Okay. Did Rob say anything to you after Jonathan had talked to him?
Not a whole lot.
Okay.
He's just like, it's cool.
He said it was cool to you or cool to Jonathan?
To both of us. Jonathan wanted to meet with him.
Did they meet?
Mm-mm.
No?
Robert didn't want to.
Just over the phone? When do you think that phone conversation happened?
What do you think it...
Do you know when it happened?
Oh, when it happened? Gosh. I'm so sorry. Like, honestly, my brain, I can't even...
That actually helps sometimes if you squint your eyes really tight.
Yeah. Especially me. I just like try to think of like people's birthdays or like something to tie in. Like,
so let's think about when he found out about Jonathan. When Rob found out about Jonathan. About 6 months after you guys were talking. Is that about the time when he found the phone and all? Is that about the time they had their conversation? Okay.
Let's say yes. I mean, seriously, I don't even know.
All right.
Let's say yes.
Okay. Okay, so the relationship continues, you guys are seeing each other. Did you ever think about maybe getting divorced for Rob? Or did he ever talk to you about the divorce?
Who?
Jonathan. About like trying to encourage you to get divorced or anything like that?
We had talked about divorce. I would say within like the past, let's say, or 4 or 5 months, maybe.
You and Jonathan, or you and Robert? Have you and Robert ever discussed divorce before?
Yes.
Okay. How long ago was that?
Like within, you know, but it was like partying, too much drinking, kind of thing, you know. And then Rob, it'd be all good the next day, you know?
Yeah. You said Rob didn't drink a whole lot, huh?
Not as much as I did. He liked to party, but he would definitely be one with at least with some wits about him.
Okay. Can you tell me what you and Jonathan's conversations What do you guys talk about when you're talking about divorce?
It's kind of like how, you know, how tough it is, you know, in the beginning, but, you know, in the end, kind of, you know, it plays out to be, you know, people do it every day kind of thing, you know.
And what is Jonathan's take on divorce? Because we know he's very religious. Did he feel it was okay?
No. No, I mean, he would say it's, you know, it's not what God wants, but people do it every day kind of thing, you know. So I think we kind of played with the thought more than, like, you know, he was gonna have a house built. So, like, he had these plans, but they were, like, future. So we just kind of talk about just, like, more, nothing like tomorrow kind of a thing, you know? Nothing like, well, in the next 6 months when you're divorced or when, you know, kind of thing. So we were just kind of rolling the dice there. I mean, like, playing the, you know, and then we had gotten a burner phone to talk on.
During the investigation, detectives got a hold of both Sabrina and John's phone records, which revealed a lot about their interactions. Robert apparently found out about the affair in March after discovering texts on Sabrina's phone and demanded that she cut ties with John. But instead of breaking things off, John provided Sabrina with the burner phone, through which they exchanged over 1,600 calls and text messages between April and June 1st. But between June 2nd to September 1st, the weeks before and after Robert was killed in August, their cellular activity more than tripled to 5,909 calls and texts. A lot of the messages were written in a cryptic and coded manner, using religious undertones and metaphors. But the majority of the messages expressed how painful it was for them to live without each other, how much they wished they could be together without obstacles, and plans of being together permanently.
It's shameful, and Rob's gone now, you know, and I have to live with that. And it freaks me out, you know, like,
Kind of crazy.
way crazy.
What do you think about the burner phone? Who introduced the burner phone? Whose idea?
Jonathan got it for me. I mean, I'll take response. I don't, you know, both of ours.
Who paid for the minutes and stuff on it all the time?
He did.
I mean, it just makes sense that you wouldn't have to pay for it on your guys' account, so then it wouldn't just, Rob become suspicious of money. You know.
Yeah.
That's when I figured. Where'd you hide it at and keep it hidden from Rob?
Just kind of like in the drawers, and
Okay.
had a basket on it. I know that's terrible, Randall. That's terrible.
I know. So once this burner phone comes into play, did you feel guilty about having it? Shameful? Anything?
There would be moments of feeling bad. Yeah. And Rob and I would go do everything together. So, like, in moments, just him and I, which we did everything together, but we had the kids with us. So, like, when it was, or always spreads, always. So, and always tricky. So when it was just him and I, there were times where, like, I kind of tried to be a little more honest. I'm not saying, like, here's the deal, you know. But I mean, he was aware of, you know, things not being quite perfect.
Sure.
And me being distracted, but he was also distracted, you know. And I'm not blaming.
Yeah. What was he distracted with?
He was distracted with everything. I know he did like to get on websites He was distracted with his phone a lot. People. Just, he had me worked a lot.
And then you were distracted with Jonathan, with the thought of that relationship continuing and growing and all that stuff.
I was just living in it, you know. It was just kind of like juggling it, you know.
So you said that they never met, right? They never had an actual meeting?
We had gone out one time, and it was just like a huge group of people that were going out.
That was going to be the
Buffalo.
March Madness. I know all about it.
That's the time.
I've read all about it. I know, everything all about it.
So you know me.
I know everything. I've lived your life for the last 3 months.
Oh gosh.
That's why you can't lie to me. I know all this stuff. So it's better just to be honest with you.
You say it's so cute. The other guys were a little rougher. So
I have a different personality than most. So I feel like I know you intimately, and I mean I know so much about your life and everything, and Rob's life, and just all your friends. But so they met at March Madness at the bar, and I actually have a picture with everybody in it, and Jonathan's in the picture. So I want to talk about moving forward just a little bit, because that March Madness was this year, right?
I worked in my brain. It's like the circuits don't connect.
Okay.
Like you tell me, detective,
Okay.
because sure.
Okay.
No, yeah.
All right. How did you and Jonathan? So were you actually talking about getting divorced and you guys being together? Did you guys make a decision to do that, or were you moving forward, or no?
We talked about it, and we were living. It wasn't, like I said, there were no dates, or there was no, he was going to build a house and kind of establish himself, for sure.
He's a youngster, huh? How old is he?
25.
25. Okay.
Which I know, I'm not, now what kind of a girl can I really even say that I honestly am, besides a mess? But I am not one of those that like, oh, look at that young guy, The girls that, you have a friend who, she'll be 40 and she was just dating a 20-year-old, and she has a daughter who's
I'm
20.
not judging.
And we're like, we kind of were just like, but he was we were like, what is going on here? This is just, hey, and I drink through it, and I tried to make him feel comfortable, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd listen to some Blime and like try to be 20 again with him, but no, Jonathan was different. He was not, oh my gosh, he's like an old soul kind of thing, so.
Young kid at heart, but he probably, because he was
I admired
homeschooled,
him.
he was a lot around his parents and stuff, and so they probably brought him up differently than what you would if you were going to a general public school. I'm not judging you for dating that 25-year-old.
I understand. I'm just saying that like that wouldn't be one thing. Like I wasn't after anything. I didn't even know I didn't even know it was actually possible, just because Rob and I had a good marriage. There were some things that we allowed in that I feel damaged us, and I would tell him that, and he wouldn't hear of it.
So let's talk about maybe a couple months prior to Rob's death.
Okay.
How did you and Jonathan talk about this?
Talk about his what?
About his death.
We didn't talk about his death.
Okay. You guys didn't talk about it at all?
We would, no, we talked about, divorce and, like if anything was to happen to Robert, not gunshots,
Not that.
I noticed there was a bunch of conversations, obviously, before Rob was murdered, during and after he got murdered. How did Jonathan know that Rob was going to be working in Tehachapi?
Well, he wasn't supposed to be working at Tehachapi, but I did tell him.
While denying that she and John discussed Robert's death prior to it happening, notice that she takes out a tissue to wipe her nose, and unlike before, she holds it against her face for a long period of time. She then grabs more tissue and covers more of her face, before resting her head in her hand. These are all examples of face-shielding behaviors, and partially covering the face, especially the mouth, is often a nonverbal indicator of shame, guilt, or embarrassment, such as one feels when they're caught in a lie or trying to lie effectively. Covering the face is also a common defense mechanism when someone feels threatened or cornered, and is demonstrated by people who may be subconsciously trying to hide from the situation or distance themselves emotionally. Before now, her hands were resting comfortably in her lap, but watch as she continues to cover her lower face as the conversation progresses.
I would tell him his schedule, you know. I would tell him, I'd even give him dates and stuff like that, because his schedule was crazy too. And then if it was times where like it didn't work out for us to get together, you know, but I kept him posted pretty much.
Now, I noticed before, when Rob left for work the morning, let's talk about the 17th, okay? Rob left for work in the morning, and I noticed that you had an 80-minute conversation with Jonathan. What do you talk about?
Talked about church, I believe. And he had worked, and he was pretty thrashed from work. But what he was gonna do that day, we'd even talked about seeing each other, but I was getting the kids ready for school, and it was just not gonna work out. And I think even maybe, and I don't know, other days Rob was gonna work because he wasn't supposed to work that day.
Yeah. So you guys talked about Rob going to work, and then you get the kids ready for school and all that drama?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had told him, but like I said, we were possibly going to get together, but he was doing other stuff, and I had been at work for, I think, days prior, like 3 days or something like that.
Well, as a fireman, they really don't work, but they sit on the couch, they play a little Xbox, shine the truck, mow the lawn, cook dinner, you know. They got all that kind of stuff going on, but anyway.
I know he did say he was pretty, he was pretty thrashed.
For a 26-year-old, come on. He's got more energy than that.
I remember him being tired.
Okay.
Not feeling good.
Did he tell you that he was going to go talk with Rob that day? Nothing at all?
Nothing at all. No.
No indication that he was going to go see Rob?
No.
Okay.
None.
After your guys' 80-minute conversation ended at afternoon, you texted Jonathan seven different times with no response back. He didn't text you back. What were you thinking?
He was sleeping.
That's what you thought he was doing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Did I put that? I don't remember.
I don't know. After those 7 messages, it was late in the evening. Rob wasn't showing up at home, and you called and talked to Jonathan. He finally texted you back and called you. What did you guys talk about?
He said he was sorry that
For what?
he'd been sleeping and he missed my calls. And we just talked about, I don't even remember what we talked about, but I said Rob's not home yet. And I was kind of looking out for Rob and trying to get the kids together. So it was just kind of like typical you know, he didn't. And I even tried calling him back. I remember one time, just quick, because Rob still wasn't home.
Did he seem to act normal?
Yeah, he said he was really sorry for not being around. He feels bad for missing my calls.
7.
But 7?
7 phone calls, or 7 text messages you sent him. What were you going to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I don't remember.
So he was sorry for missing your phone calls. And it's pretty common for you guys to, as soon as a text message goes, there's usually a message right back pretty quickly, huh?
Yeah, I mean, not like a whole, not like 5 hours or something.
Yeah, it's not going to be 5 hours. It's usually pretty quickly. So he seemed pretty normal?
Yeah.
Okay. Did he give you any indication that he may have gone and saw Rob or talked to Rob, anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Sabrina and John's communication patterns were notably abnormal on the day Robert was murdered. Between 6:30 and 10:30 that morning, John called Sabrina 6 separate times, and they spoke for a total of 2 hours and 14 minutes. Around 12:05 p.m., Sabrina called Jonathan again, and they spoke for nearly an hour and a half. And immediately after getting off the phone around 1:30, they had a short text message conversation. What was particularly interesting was the fact that they actually were exchanging text messages around the time Robert is estimated to have been killed, specifically at 4:22 p.m., 5:01 p.m., 5:04 p.m., and 6:57 p.m., the time frame in which Sabrina claimed he wasn't answering his phone. Finally, John called her around 7:50 that afternoon, presumably after he'd returned home.
So he did go see Rob. And I think now you probably know that.
It's so hard for me.
What else?
That's unbelievable to me. Like, I seriously would feel like there's no way that he'd be capable of that.
How come?
I just feel like he would never want to live. I mean, just like, I can't imagine that, you know? I just didn't think he could do something like that, you know? So in that video, in the picture you sent me, that was him.
That was Jonathan, huh?
You know, the bike, it's hard to tell that one for sure. And even the liquor store, like, it looks like a young, like a teenager to me, but I can't really make it out, you know?
Video's a lot better in person. And I know it's Jonathan. He was there.
Unbeknownst to Sabrina, her paramour Jonathan was already in police custody for suspicion of killing Robert. What she also didn't know was that detectives not only had their phone records, but that they'd been wiretapping their devices and listening in on their personal phone calls since the first week of November. And that's how the detective knows what he's about to tell her.
You want me to tell you what he did? He drives to Tehachapi. He checks to see if Rob's there. Rob's not there. He leaves. He comes back, and he waits for Rob to come drive to the property.
You're sure?
I'm positive. 100%.
How do you know for sure? I mean,
I have lots of evidence. He goes in the shop. They get in an altercation. He shoots Rob twice. He gets on his bike, his motorcycle. He leaves. He changes clothes. Goes to the gas station. Gets some water, gets some gas. drives home. Gets home, sees your text messages, calls you, texts you.
What do I say to that?
I don't know. Did you guys ever talk about it?
We've talked about it a lot.
I've heard a lot of your conversations.
A lot. I mean, I just like had this full, like when it happened, I couldn't believe it. You know, like, so I hear this, and the other detective said, like, I texted him right away. I feel like I didn't even, I know that I did let him know what was going on.
Mm-hmm. With Rob being at work.
Oh, at work, and then after he was murdered.
Uh-huh.
After I found out.
What did Jonathan say?
He was he couldn't believe it. He was so sorry. Who did this? How could this have happened? Was it, you know what? There was so, like, that all is a true blur, you know? Because it was just like, I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. But in my head, there always has been, like, if affair was to come out, that would look really bad, you know, kind of thing.
So I've heard you talk to Jonathan more than I would have liked to have. I've heard multiple conversations, hundreds. At what point did you realize that Jonathan did this?
He's never told me that he has done this.
He never told you that?
In words. I didn't want to hear that, you know? I don't want to hear that.
I need you to tell me the truth.
He never told me in words.
Okay, so how has he told you then? If not in words?
Just by behavior. Like, he hasn't, you know, just behavior. Like, we have to, things we kind of have to do. With the detectives, just to kind of keep our affair under wraps because of how, you know, you guys could set him up, could set me up. Why, you know, looking for something. So I'm just like, okay.
Sabrina is telling the truth about one thing. They never directly spoke about the murder, at least not over the phone. During their wiretapped conversations, they seemed aware of the possibility that police might be eavesdropping and chose their words very carefully. But they slipped up by making suspicious remarks suggesting that they were happy that detectives were struggling to crack the case. Sabrina would also call John before or after speaking with the detectives, and he would occasionally coach her on what to say and what not to say in order to avoid suspicion.
And that was all pray. Okay. Okay, I just wanted you to be praying. I'm going to pray and
God, please help us. God, please help us to be wise, help to be able to have the right words. Please help everything to be. God, please help us to live for you.
I'll play the call at 10:15.
During one call, John was overheard telling her that DNA could be the thing that sets us free, and in another suspicious instance, they prayed together for Sabrina to not give too much information that needs to be shared.
So he never actually told you that he killed Rob?
No. He never said he killed Rob.
But you think that he had done it in other words or other actions?
Well, just as we're talking, you know, he's like, well, it could be me in that video. It could be me.
I'm like, well, it's not you. It's like, well, they could place me there, me getting gas somewhere else, you know, and putting me, you know, and that's the video that he's showing you. He could be saying this or that, and I didn't know what you were. I didn't know either, like what you knew or what was really going on, you know. And so I was just thinking maybe you would find somebody through, you know, DNA. It's like, okay, how does this DNA stuff work? Okay, good. And I told him DNA, and he's like, good, that's good. They found DNA, that's good. But I mean, he wouldn't ask, well, what, you know, we would talk about it. We talked about all of it in length.
When did he tell you? Did he tell you he was nervous about his DNA being at the scene?
No.
No?
Nervous about his DNA being at the scene.
Mm-hmm. At the shop there?
No. He'd said, you know, DNA, like it's not like a for sure. You can, you know, DNA could be explained, things like that, you know. So.
I need you to be totally honest with me, okay? Because I know a lot of information about this. So, Rob gets the call Saturday and says he's gonna work for John Justice. He's gonna work for John Justice, and then he goes to leave for work in the morning. You and Jonathan both had conversations. Before that, before he went to work, and then after, or when he was gone, when he went to go driving, and you told Jonathan that Rob was working overtime.
And to be up there all day.
Okay. And did he know where the shop was at?
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
How do you believe?
I told him where Rob works. I'm like, oh, it's in Tehachapi. I asked him if he was familiar with Tehachapi ever. Like, we discussed the town and the shop.
You told him where the shop was at? Off the freeway right there?
I'll say yes, I have.
My question is, what I need to figure out so we can move forward is, how did he know that the shop was there? So you told him. Did you give him the address or anything?
No, I don't know the address.
Okay.
I just kind of explained how it is, you know? And we had talked, yeah. I mean, he inquired on before, like, we talked a lot, you know, so you're like, yeah, Rob's attributes like this, you know, kind of like what he did, and calls he went on, I would tell him.
Okay. So you talked to him in the morning, and
normal. I mean, it was just normal. Like,
right, but I mean, you talked to him and you told him that Rob was going to work, right? Why'd you tell him he was going to work?
just so we could talk and possibly see one another, but talk, probably. I don't know, like, because it was like, oh, because Tehachapi's gone longer, you know.
What do you mean?
Like, they're 12-hour shifts, not 8-hour shifts. And then drive time, and sometimes he'd work over, you know, so it's like it's an all day. He's gone all day. All night, so.
So you told them this so you'd have the opportunity to see Jonathan?
Yeah, if he was available, if it worked out, or to like talk, to be able to know that it's not a time limit, as far as like it's a longer time limit, you know.
Before Rob would get home and you couldn't talk anymore.
Yeah. hate this.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I have to believe that there was more going on than that. Just the conversation that Kate wanted.
For that day?
Yeah. Like, anyway, hey, because you guys have already talked about divorce, you talked about being together. I mean, there has to be some more conversation going on about...
I promised you, Detective, we talked about church. No, it wasn't like I'm going up to Tehachapi to, take care of Robert.
You guys didn't talk about that?
No. I promise you that.
You've lied to me before, though.
I know. I understand. I understand. But no, I can say no. And that's the truth. No, we did not. I want to say we hadn't really talked I want to say that, but once again, I can't be held to anything because I could have said it was a 10-minute conversation and it was an 80, and I don't know, but I do know that we didn't talk about like how to get to the shop or, to have to be at all.
You already knew how to get to the shop, though, pretty much, Because he had actually gone up there before.
He had?
Uh-huh. He went up there in June and scoped it out. Checked it out, drove by. So he was planning this.
In June?
So he drove up there, looked around, checked it out, and was putting his plan together. After the death of Robert.
This is bad.
Did you suspect that he was up there snooping around?
Mm-mm.
So how were your guys' conversations after the death of Robert? The following couple days?
You know what? All over the place. Stressful. Hard. There were times where I felt like he wasn't understanding of to what was going on.
He didn't understand.
There were moments I felt that way,
I'm just trying to get an idea of what his demeanor and stuff was like after he murdered Robert. How it changed.
It didn't. It really didn't. I mean, he's been stressed out, for sure.
And that stress has been induced by what?
By detectives and a murder investigation, so we're going to be, kind of like spotlight because we've had a relationship, and I'm like, gosh, how is this going? But then as I have kind of really, I feel like I felt God carrying me through this hard time, and finding strength to just want to take care of my kids and not drinking anymore, not going out, not this whole different, from how I was living.
Yeah.
Actually complete opposite.
I think that that Jonathan feels like he was saving you from that he was saving you from your lifestyle, and in turn in that he was doing good. You know?
Through further investigation, it became clear that John saw himself as a hero who was acting in the name of God to rescue Sabrina from a life of subjectification. In fact, while searching his home following his arrest, detectives found a note resembling a diary entry full of criticisms towards Robert. The first half of the note was written as if John were premeditating what he would say to Robert if they met. Taking it all out on me, but you've been growing apart since before you gave her away to have relations with another man and keep turning your back on God. And why haven't you been fighting for your wife and kids with this same passion all along? Instead, golfing, helping others, erotically, fantasizing, living in a happy bubble of denial. The bottom half of the page appeared to be filled with justification for what John was doing, and included lines such as, "When I discovered what an adulterer he was, I wanted to help, spiritually. Then at 1:32 on March 8th, Rob noticed we were still talking and has issued numerous threats." The very last line of the note consisted of a single eerie sentence: "I want to be with Sabrina and rescue her from Rob."
So no demeanor change. He was the same person the whole time.
Having stress, they were stressful, you know, very stressed and sick to his stomach kind of thing, you know, just because I didn't want this put, you know, I didn't want our affair, you know.
I have to believe that he's stressed because it's much more than the affair. He's not worried about this affair. The affair is no big deal to most people.
See, it's so weird because that's what Patrick was explaining. He was like, this isn't a big deal. I felt like it was so huge. 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 As huge as, I mean, I felt like it was so, you know.
And an affair is not, it's not a big deal. All this stuff that Jonathan's been preparing for is concealing the murder of Robert. All the stuff he's gone through, he's sick to his stomach because he knows that detectives are going to be banging on the door at the fire station, wanting to talk to him. It's not about an affair. This is about him murdering Robert. And he knows that. That's why he's sick to his stomach. Calling in sick, he can't make it to work, getting people to cover his overtime shifts, because it's not about the affair. You know what I mean? It's about him murdering your husband.
It's notable that Sabrina is giving little to no emotional response to hearing that her boyfriend killed her husband. The average person in this situation would express extreme remorse or guilt that the killer is someone that they gave access to their spouse, but Sabrina just continues to act confused. Her lack of remorse alone is a loud indicator of where her priorities truly lie.
Don't go anywhere. Ladies, ain't going anywhere.
I listen to what I'm told sometimes.
I wanted to go back to the part about this place in Tehachapi where Rob worked at. And I know you said that you kind of told him that he works at the place in Tehachapi. It's off the freeway. Why would you tell him that?
We had talked about like what Robert does and just like how, you know, I can't think of, I mean, a couple things like come to my head. I don't know. There was like an RV, they build like motorhomes. I remember that. And he just asked what Rob does up there. I'd come back with all kinds of, you know, Rob would come home with stories and I would share them. And so he'd asked a little bit, you know.
What do you think he was asking?
It was kind of like in conversation. It wasn't weird.
I'll be clear though, I mean, you know, I mean, I would never ask, you know, why.
It didn't seem weird in the conversation.
If I was in your shoes, I would, if I was in your whole relationship shoes and everything, and I'm looking for a divorce or whatever, I would give that location to Jonathan if I knew Jonathan had made plans prior to meeting up with Rob. That's why I would have told him, hey, he worked for Tat Street, the building's off the freeway, next to the motorhome place, if I knew they were going to go meet.
He never planned on meeting him at Tehachapi that he ever told me.
Where were they going to meet at, you know?
Like he wanted to have lunch or like somewhere in town or something like that.
Yeah, because I would go have lunch with some guy that was sleeping with my wife. You know what I mean? That's not rational for people. They just don't do that. It won't go well. It'll end up in an argument and then possibly a death.
I never thought anything of it. Robert didn't want to meet with him, and he just wanted to apologize. He said,
so maybe you think about this.
that I don't know. And I'm not, he has a motorcycle, but I'm not too, I know it has writing on the side.
Mm-hmm. Forgiven.
Yeah. Is that on there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. He's changed the appearance a little bit. He's changed the exhaust. And once he started feeling like we were going to come talk to him about this murder, not about an affair, we got video of him getting rid of it.
He doesn't have any marks?
No, we haven't.
I asked him yesterday if his bike was running.
I need you to tell me more. I know you know a lot more than you're telling me. You're not going to be able to just forget about this. This guy murdered your husband in cold blood.
I can't believe it. It's like I can't believe that, like
So I listened to your guys' conversation yesterday about the motorcycle. In your words, tell me what he told you.
he said it's running, and he hasn't ridden it because it's cold, and since it's been cold, that he'd come out on it when it was still nice, but he hasn't ridden it since it's been cold.
Why would you ask him that? What prompted those questions?
Because of these pictures.
And then what did you start believing? Or thinking?
I just kept watching the video, and I kind of was like, what? I just told him what it looked like, and I was tripping that they had John. I didn't know if this was real. It might not be real. These might not be actual videos. Like it might be set up. And I said, why I can't.
Why would I set you up?
Setting us up.
I wouldn't set you up.
Yeah. But in my head, like I'm just tripping.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So why would you ask him if the bike are still running?
I don't know why you asked that. Just like, are you riding your motorcycle kind of thing? That's what I meant. Is it even running?
So then you kept watching the video at the store. And he asked you if it looked like him. And what did you say? What did you think?
I thought that was weird.
Yeah. You thought it was weird that he asked you that? What did you think about the picture? The video I sent you, did you think it looked like him? I mean, you've slept with this guy. You know his build, his mannerisms. What do you think?
I just kept watching it, like, in my head. I can't imagine, you know, like, it can't be him, you know? So that's what I just thought.
So, because he did ask you, well, does it look like me?
Yeah.
And did you think it looked like him?
No, I didn't really think that it looked like him. I didn't see that.
I didn't send it to you.
I didn't think that looked like him at all.
You changed clothes. Because of his blood all over his clothes. So he changed.
During the search of John's home, police found the alleged motorcycle stashed in a corner of his garage, covered with a red blanket. Found inside his closet was the motorcycle helmet, and inside the helmet were the black gloves, red scarf, and glasses that the killer was wearing. On top of that, they easily located the handgun inside of a gun case, along with several magazines and boxes of bullets. But aside from what they expected to find, they also found something very unexpected, something that pointed to a much darker plot possibly involving Sabrina. But we'll discuss that in just a moment.
So the first video was him too?
Walking across the parking lot there.
Or no?
He walked back to the shop. Door was open. Walked in. Rob was getting a Gatorade out of the refrigerator. And they got into a fight.
A fight?
Yeah. A physical fight. A struggle over the gun. And then pow. And then another one.
Robert was so strong. Like, that's what this is so crazy, because it's like...
Very strong. And Jonathan wasn't as strong at the time. He's pretty strong now.
Why?
Why is he strong now? Because he's taking steroids. I can tell from the crime scene photos and stuff that there was a struggle. So Rob's fighting for his life. And this fucking douchebag is killing him. Because he wants you and your kids. He wants to be Rob. He wants to be Rob.
I don't want to believe that, you know? It's not about that. It's just I can't believe that.
It's terrible. It's sad to take these kids' father away from them. Took their father away from them because he wanted to be Rob. Terrible. You read the Bible? David and Bathsheba and Uriah.
He told me about that.
Mm-hmm. Did you read the story?
No, I read...
Psalms 51.
Yeah, I don't remember. He knows the Bible really good.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever suspect him of doing this?
I didn't want to suspect him.
You didn't want to? But did you?
I just thought who could do this to Robert? Like, why? You know?
So, I mean, it's yes or no. Did you ever suspect him of doing it?
Yes, after seeing the video and conversations in, you know, could have been me, but it could have been planted. It could have been all these things. It could have been, we could keep going over all these things. It could have been, they could say this, we could do this, you know, kind of thing. We went over a lot of that kind of stuff, like a lot, you know.
Because it wasn't about the affair. This is about him concealing the fact that he murdered your husband, and he didn't want people to find out about it. This is what this whole thing was about. It wasn't about the affair at all. It wasn't about the affair. It's about the murder. And he thought he was doing God's work because you were living a life of sin, and he wanted to save you from that. You do now what?
I said, what do I do now?
What do you do now? You tell me everything you know. Because I'll be honest with you. What I get out of this interview is going to make a huge decision on if you ever touch and see your kids again. Ever. In your entire life. And right now I feel like that you have some more information that you're not giving to me. And you're not telling me everything I need to know. Okay. And this would be the time. This is our last interview. Ever. Now's the time to tell me the truth about everything. And it honestly is going to make the decision on if, you know, if you see him again, touch him. I just need you to be honest.
Yeah, no, I feel like I've been just completely like out of my mind, you know, so I feel like things have been weird. As far as, like I said, as far as Jonathan's personality, there were times where, like I said, I felt like he was understanding. I felt like I was maybe even getting in trouble with him. And then it's kind of happened fast too, where he's come into the picture, you know, and then took him to church on Sunday.
This last Sunday?
And I would tell him I tell him I miss Rob a lot.
What did he say?
He'd say, yeah, you know, of course you do. You spent so much, you know, years with him. And I know I didn't even think about this stuff. It's like every day just is something different. Like just trying to get by. And I feel like we've been doing better.
We as
the kids and I.
Can me.
The kids and I. But then he's come into play pretty
quickly. Have you introduced the kids to Rob or to Jonathan?
Oh yeah. He's been around. He's been around.
He's a buddy, huh?
Yep. Yeah.
He's over your house, he's hanging out, you got you going to the movies, going to lunch. Kind of falling into that relationship role. So I need to get some clarification on a few things. Back before Rob got murdered, okay? But before we talk, I want to let you know that you have to be totally honest with me.
Okay.
This is so freaking serious. I can't tell you how serious this is.
Okay. I got you. I'm with you.
If you're lying to me, it's going to be very difficult for you. Before the marriage, or before the death of Robert, you guys have had conversations, multiple. 7,333 conversations. April 15th when you got the burner phone. Got that burner phone on April 15th. from April 15th to September 1st, there were 7,333 phone calls, text messages. I've done my homework. Okay. You guys have had to have some sort of conversation discussing your unhappiness in your marriage and your divorce or possible divorce, and then at what point did Jonathan say that he could probably take care of it for you?
He never said he could take care of it.
Never.
It was like, no, like we could be together, you know, and live for God.
So he said we could be together and live for God. What did you think about that?
I just kind of lived, you know. I thought I would think about it, but it was like I was living like two lives, you know.
So a life with Robert and then a life with Jonathan.
In a way, yeah.
And whenever he would talk to you,
I would go along, you know,
I'm sorry, what?
we talk about things, you know, and being together, the kids, talk about the kids, raising the kids. We talked about that a lot. How badly things were being done, you know, like.
So he's saying you were a bad parent and Rob was a bad parent? Because he obviously knows. He's 26 years old and he, you know what I mean?
He never, so foolish.
Huh?
I feel foolish. He would never say, you're a bad parent. Rob's a bad parent. I don't think he would ever say that, but he would say there's a lot of, you know, need for God in our
And that was his way in. He started to make you feel guilty about the life you were living, about not living for God. He gets his way into your mind and in your heart. And then it makes you start believing this stuff about you, which probably wasn't true. Do you remember a specific date before Rob was murdered that he told you that Jonathan said we could be together and live for God?
Do I remember a date?
Yeah, like maybe how, like a week before, a month before, all the time?
More than we talked about, you know, living for God.
Mm-hmm.
More, I'll say maybe a month or two, maybe 3.
Did you know that he had planned to murder your husband?
No.
The truth is that not only did she know about the plan to kill her husband months prior, but up until 4 months before his death, she was a part of the plan. The first evidence of her involvement was found hidden inside a bucket in John's garage, a half-empty bottle of arsenic trioxide, an extremely toxic substance primarily used as an industrial chemical in pesticides and wood preservatives. John had purchased the arsenic and given it to Sabrina on March 19th, about 2 weeks after Robert discovered their affair, so she could spike the banana pudding that Robert took for lunch. She hid the poison in their refrigerator, and the following month, the plan was set to be put into motion. But Sabrina backed out at the last minute out of fear that she would be caught, and told her husband that the pudding had gone bad. Of course, she's not going to tell the detective that part, but she was about to have some explaining to do as the detective was about to confront her with facts about her own suspicious behavior.
I'm kind of curious what he's going to tell me too. If he's going to tell me that you planned this whole thing because you know that if your husband's working for the railroad at the time when the railroad is on duty and he gets killed on duty, that there's a lot of motivator there for money. $300,000 life insurance plus another $50,000, plus the possibility of the railroad coming in and going,
No.
hey, we can pay you off.
Detective Randall Roberts, I don't care about money. Money, I can't even tell you. I don't care about money.
If I was in your shoes right now, I wouldn't care about money either. I would care about my survival. Not going to prison for the rest of my life. That's what I would care about.
Yeah, of course.
I don't give a shit about money. That's why I work. I'm a cop. I don't care about money. It's money. It does make the world go round, but it's not everything.
The detective is attempting to trap Sabrina in a prison's dilemma, a method of extracting the truth by telling a suspect that they're...
Never did he. In fact, he prayed, "I'm not a murderer, God."
Okay, how about Psalms 51? He told you about that, right? And he prayed for forgiveness for his bloodshed. Remember that? He talked about that?
For his bloodshed?
Mm-hmm. I think you were actually talking over him when he was talking about that. Because you guys do that a lot. You'll be talking, and then he talks, and you guys talk over each other. And then he prayed that God would forgive him for his bloodshed. I don't think you would. If he did or if he didn't. You don't remember hearing that?
No. I remember talking about the out of the book of Psalms, and David. I remember him telling me that about David, and I know it a little bit. And I've been reading Psalms, but just
I'm gonna go to the restroom. Do you want to go to the restroom real quick?
Sure.
Let me get a female for you real quick. Well, I can't go unless you're with you.
Okay. You know, I was just thinking in the bathroom, so many things that, like, I related to it an affair, but that were
He was relating it to murder, not an affair. You know what I mean? Let's talk about last week when we met. You leave here. You talk to him on the phone with your sister in the car. Still a little bit. You're not letting your sister know a whole lot. I understand. And then there was another conversation you had with him after you and I spoke, and you called him and said, "Hey, we're good. I'll call you in a little bit." Remember that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know about the call you in a little bit, what that part was about, but I just felt like I was just worried about phone records. I thought if you were gonna have, and I seriously thought we were getting arrested for an affair, and I know that sounds retarded, but
yeah,
it's like, well, what do they have really besides phone records? Okay, well, you know, I need to go back and forth, but then I just felt I felt guilty, you know, for the affair and Rob being gone, you know. But then hearing it out loud doesn't even add up.
I'm sorry?
Hearing it out loud, it doesn't even
sounds retarded, right?
Yeah, doesn't make sense. But
also, you guys had a conversation about me too. Remember that conversation? Well, lots of. I mean, I came up in almost every conversation you guys had. Right?
Yeah, I didn't realize that he was like, I never had said your first name, or I don't believe. And he looked in, you know, kind of just checking you out, and
how did he do that?
Personal. You know, I guess the computer. I don't know.
Facebook.
Not good. I'm not good on any. I don't do any of that stuff a whole lot. But so I knew that, and I was like, so I just kind of felt like he was doing homework for us for the affair. So Detective Meyer wasn't going to.
He's by the book. Very precise.
Cookie cutter or something. I don't know. Black and white.
So you got that from where?
I guess from the internet. I mean, he didn't tell me where he got it from. He just said he researched. Another thing too, he mentioned is an attorney. That's why he said if, you feel uncomfortable or whatever, just ask for an attorney, And so, I'd never done this before.
Me either.
And I felt overwhelmed and just getting to like, well, maybe I should, just so I don't say something wrong. Because,
What are you guilty of?
I'm not having an affair.
So why would you be afraid of saying something wrong? If you know that you can't be arrested for an affair, then what would make you think that you're going to get in trouble?
I didn't want to put it out there. I thought that in my head, like that's what I was running from. Like, I don't want you to find out that there's been an affair in prior, lifestyle.
My husband is killed, and I'm worried about covering up an affair. There's bigger things than having an affair. That's murder, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point in time, I'd be like, here's all my cards. I'm not doing anything wrong, except for having an affair. You should go look at that motherfucker. That's what I would have said.
My mind has not thought that big like that.
No, I mean...
It hasn't. It honestly hasn't. It's like...
I think all bets are off. Once somebody gets killed, murdered, shot, no more, not coming back. Kids with no father. Fuck the affair. Who cares?
Yeah, well now...
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have been like, I need to talk to you. I got to tell you about this affair. I didn't do anything wrong, except for having an affair.
There were
But
a
you
couple
need to
of
go talk
days
to
where I
them.
had it so heavy on my heart. Just...
But you never said anything. I asked you dozens of times, do you have any information for me? Do you have anything else you'd like to tell me?
I know, I'm thinking outside of my affair. And...
I don't know, I'm thinking about, tell me anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it was weighing heavy on me a couple times, and I did want to talk to you.
But you didn't, though.
I didn't.
How do you expect somebody to diligently be working to solve the murder of your husband?
Because I didn't suspect Jonathan.
But you told me earlier that you did at some points.
Yeah, but it wasn't like in the beginning. This is coming down to these photos and some of the things that have been said recently.
What's been said recently?
Just, it could be me on the video. It could just discussion like that in the past probably month, maybe 2 weeks.
How about when I talk to you, I can check and see if it's a text or a phone call. As soon as we get off the phone, you pick up your burner phone, you immediately call Jonathan, call me from the station, and you hang up.
This was just yesterday.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Tell me about that. Why would you do that?
Because of the John. I was like, would somebody do you know somebody that would? There was a tip line, you know, and then I just like, or maybe is it a John? You know, like a rando. Is it John or is it John? You know, you.
So why would you have him call you from the station phone?
Because I didn't. I was worried, like thinking. I don't know. You guys were
Thinking the phones were tapped?
I was thinking maybe someone's listening. I don't know. It's just I felt freaked out, like, and I did.
How did
And
you
I
think
kind
that-
of was like, but
You kind of
it wasn't you, right? You know. And these, I mean, I did. I let him know that what I saw, and I let him know when we had conversations, and that you might call me back. And he said, just to not let you guys keep poking at me for.
So, that to me is very suspicious. For you to quickly call him on your burner phone after we get off the phone, like seconds after we get off the phone. Call me on the station phone. And then, you hear a clicking noise, thinking that we're listening to your call, and turns out it's from the station. Apparently they make a clicking noise when you're talking on the phone there. That's very suspicious. Like, more than just trying to conceal an affair. That's it. To me, that's suspicious, and to, I mean, every detective around here.
Yeah, well, I could see where that would be suspicious. There's really no explanation for my behavior as far as that goes. Like, now that I see it like this, it's almost like talking and kind of continuing. I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen after found out about. I didn't know what was going to happen, with him. But
What do you think Jonathan's going to tell me?
I have no idea what he's going to tell you.
Because he's on his way here right now. What do you think he's going to say? Apparently he told one of the other detectives that he wanted to talk to me. What's he going to tell me about you?
Me? I have no idea what he's going to tell you about me.
You want me to give you an idea of probably what he's going to tell me?
What?
That you set this up and planned this? That's probably what he's going to tell me.
I can't imagine that. I can't
No?
imagine him saying that. No.
Why not? Because he left you? Because he's a man of God, but he's having an affair with a married woman?
No, not because of those things, because I didn't set it up, and because I can't imagine him saying that.
Partner will or already has pinned the crime on them. It's then up to the suspect to decide whether to clear their name by telling the detective what really happened or call the detective's bluff and remain silent.
You can see the way this looks really bad because you have an affair.
Yeah.
You have a motivator for money. Right? This looks terrible.
Yeah.
And there's a murder, continuing affair, and people lying to conceal the affair and to conceal the murder.
Yeah. I can see how that looks really, really bad. Definitely.
So what's Jonathan going to tell me?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea what he's going to tell you.
Because apparently he hasn't asked for a lawyer. He wants to talk to me. You know what usually happens in these cases? One person tells me that, in this case, Jonathan's going to tell me that you started all this and you talked him into it. You know what I mean? That's what he's probably. That's probably what he's going to say. He's probably going to tell me that.
I can't. Well, that wouldn't be true.
He's lied before.
I can't imagine.
He's lied about.
I can't imagine him saying.
The motorcycle. He's lied about talking to Robert 3 other times before the murder. He lied about murdering Robert, driving over there to Tashby and committing the murder.
He talked to Robert 3 other times.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a liar. But he thinks it's okay to lie because he's forgiven for his sins. He'll repent for the sins he's committed. He thinks he's going to be okay. Nope. It's not okay. You can't just go out and commit a murder and then just think that you're doing God's work. You know, think that I'm doing the work of God because He wants me to save her from her sins. And then think it's okay. And that's what he thinks. And I'm wondering what he's going to tell me.
I can't even believe.
So, we're kind of not getting anywhere. I mean, we've gone over this stuff over and over and over. And I need some more information from you. I need to know some stuff. You need to tell me. I'm serious. You got to start telling me some shit because I don't have enough here. Let's talk about his VoIP phone he got.
A what?
Voice over internet protocol.
What's that?
Well, he called you on a number that gave you a heart attack. The 661 area code number.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! You almost gave me a heart attack. So why would he go to the extent of getting a phone that we couldn't track, or if he thinks we couldn't track, and thinks we wouldn't be able to...
On an internet phone.
Yeah, why would he do that? For an affair. It's all about the murder. Seriously. That's what this is all about. It's not about the affair. The affair is nothing. It's about concealing everything for the murder. So why would he go get the voice phone?
I didn't know that he had that until he called from that.
And you were tripping out, huh?
Yeah, I was like,
Oh my
Detective
God.
Meyer has the burner phone for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I had the burner phone. A long time ago.
I never said you weren't a good detective.
Well, I think you did say a few things. I'm trying to remember exactly, but you did talk about me.
It wasn't bad.
I need you to tell me the
You're
truth.
giving me the hard information.
I've given you a lot of it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I have books and books and books and books of evidence on this whole thing. I mean, I could stack the books up and they would stand as tall as you. On all the evidence I've collected during this last 3 months in one day. Tons of it. You need to be honest with me. Because he's going to tell me. He's going to tell me exactly what happened.
Well, good.
Because you know why? Because he has to. He has to tell somebody this. He's going to have to tell me what happened. For his conscience. He's curious. Right? Even minds are curious. They want to know, what evidence do you have to show that I've done this? All our minds are curious. And he is going to ask, he's going to want to know, what do you have? And he's going to want me to tell him. But what I'm wondering is what he's going to tell me about you.
I know.
Okay. Why would you tell him where Robert worked at?
That was a long time ago.
Like how long?
Like probably a long time ago. half of a year ago or so.
Mm-hmm. Why specifically would you tell him that there's a building in Tehachapi?
We talked about Tehachapi, and
It's right off the freeway.
he's asked me.
He's asked you? Why do you think he asked you?
I don't know, like it was in conversation, like literally.
Where his points are at, where he's going to stop at. This is a plan. He had a master plan. So that's why he talked about it. And that's why he had questions for you. Where's this place at? But I'm wondering why would you even tell him? I mean, it's your husband's place of business. Why would you specifically tell him that it's a business right off the freeway in Tehachapi? That's where he works at.
I don't know
That's
why
crazy.
I told him that. It was in conversation. I don't know.
You know what? I think if you would have never told him that, he would have never been able to find it. Because it's not on the map. You can't Google it and find it. I've tried. He would have never ever known where that BNSF shop was at if you wouldn't have told him. Did you guys have any specific conversations before the murder, before the day of the murder? A couple of days before about him maybe going on a ride on his motorcycle?
I want to say no.
No? You want to say no?
No.
Okay. But he did mention that he could be with you. You guys could be together and live in... That's my remote for my car. Battery's dead. He did mention to you that you guys could be together and live for God, right? Remember him talking about that a bazillion times?
Yeah.
So you didn't think by him saying that maybe that he had intentions on maybe removing Rob from the picture?
No.
Why would you not think that?
Because we'd spoken of divorce. You know, like that was kind of, and we were just like living, you know, just living in our I was just living a double life, you know. You did not know.
So you know that we have possibly heard some conversations that you guys have had in your house here, right?
Yeah.
You want to tell me about some of those?
How'd you do that? It's all detective work. Oh gosh. About worrying about if you know, the detectives are watching us, kind of thing, you know. And talked about the kids, about living life. God has a purpose, and through this, God's had a plan for all of our lives, and
I don't think that in this master plan was the whole murder. My partners are talking to Jonathan right now. I don't know what he's telling them. So I told my partner that once he gets done talking to her, like, you know, at a point where you take a break to come in and kind of release some information so we can figure out what he's saying. I don't know what he's telling him. He told him he had a bunch of stuff to tell him though, so I can't imagine what he's telling him.
right. I have no idea. Well, he's telling him this.
Huh?
Is he telling him?
I don't know. He's gonna come in and talk to me. He'll come in and talk to us real quick. Let us know exactly what's going on. I mean, I can't imagine that. It's hard for me to imagine that, honestly, that you didn't know that this was going on. You know what I mean? With all this talk on the phones in your guys' house, getting a burner phone, it's hard for me to believe that you didn't have knowledge of it. You didn't know that you got talked about it. I mean, it's yeah.
mean,
What do you think's gonna happen to you right now?
I'm going to jail.
I mean, with all this, everything. I mean, you think that do you think that you're gonna be able to see your kids again?
I hope so. I can't. This is detective. It's a nightmare.
I need some information.
You have all the information right here. You have it all.
But you can see from my point of view that I don't have all the information. You know what I mean? This looks horrible.
I know it does.
This guy gets fucking killed. You know.
It does, detective. I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, this guy murders him because he wants his life. That's the bottom line. This guy wants his life.
And I gave him the
You
access.
You did. You told him where your husband worked at. When he would be working. Where the shop was. What days he worked. And you told him that he was going to be gone. You guys could maybe hook up. He had other plans. He wasn't planning on hooking up with you. He was planning on taking that stroll to Tehachapi like he had done before. You know? Got it planned out. He had it timed out. He knew how long it'd take. He knew how much gas he would need. He paid cash. Oh, no. He paid cash for the stuff he bought because he knew. This is one of my partners, Detective Brewer.
How you doing? Kevin Brewer.
Hi, Kevin.
He was talking with Jonathan.
Yeah, this is the call from Robert. Sorry, Jonathan before him now. I got a couple of questions for you that American Psalms. Sabrina, after talking to Jonathan and looking at this, I mean, I helped him with this case for a long time. It looks like there's two people at fault, not just you. I don't think you pulled the trigger, did you?
No.
Jonathan did. When did he tell you that it was him in that video?
Yesterday.
When?
Yesterday.
We didn't tell you before that?
No.
What did you think when he told you that's him on the video?
Well, he hadn't seen the video, but he said it could be me. He said
What? How could that be? I'm confused here.
We've just talked a bunch about, he's just said that, you know, detectives can say and do anything that they want.
Did you ask him how that could be him in that video?
I did.
What did he say?
He said that it could be a picture of him at another gas station.
Did you ask him what he was doing in that gas station? Halfway to where your husband was murdered?
From what how I took it was like another gas station, another place, you know. And then I said, why would they want to do that? Okay. Why would they want to put?
Did you see the picture of Jonathan on the motorcycle?
Yeah, it's right there.
Do you have any trouble figuring out that's Jonathan? Because frankly, everybody else that knows him that's seen it, I mean, you have to know that we floated that to them. Have all had no problem with it. And I think you would know him more than any of them, really.
Yeah.
You have any problem with that, picking that out as Jonathan?
No.
You know anybody else that looks like that has a motorcycle like that would have a reason to kill your husband?
No.
Who else could it be?
No, that's what I was hoping. Someone else.
And frankly, Sabrina, I've sit on a lot of wiretaps, and I know we've been listening to you for a while.
Yeah.
I've sit on about a bunch of the 33 years I've been doing this. And I can tell you that the conversation between you two is not covering up an affair.
Well, that's what
You've already told people about your affair long before this. There was no reason to keep this a secret. Keep it from who?
Oh, I haven't told anybody.
Yes, you have.
Who did I tell?
You've told people, and so has Jonathan. What? At what
Said
point?
about knowing.
At
no,
what
but
point
not,
did you think we knew about Jonathan? How do you think we found out about Jonathan?
phone records.
From what?
From a phone record.
No, we have to have probable cause to get search warrants to get the phone records.
I didn't know.
He told people about you. He's been told to stay away from you, and you know that.
What the detective is saying is true. They didn't immediately know about John and Sabrina's affair, and they might have never figured it out if not for one of the only people who knew about it, a man named Jason Bernatine. Jason and his girlfriend were one of the friend couples that Sabrina and Robert frequently swung with. Jason was also a firefighter and a friend of John's. Apparently overwhelmed by the weight of what he'd done, John had called Jason weeks after the murder and ended up leaving him a voicemail apologizing profusely and implying that he was involved in Robert's murder. Jason ended up turning this voicemail over to the police, which is ultimately what put John on the police's radar.
We've been listening to you guys for a while, Sabrina. And I know Detective Meyer is trying his best to get you to tell us the truth. And you have been doing that. Jonathan was arrested the same time you were. We just got him done and got him to jail. And there's a great many questions that we need to have you answer for us. Okay?
Okay.
Tell me what I think when your secret boyfriend finds out exactly where your husband is in a different county, 2.5 hours away, drives up here and kills you. What do I think? How in the world would he find out where that place is? I couldn't even find it when they sent us there.
That's my fault.
Absolutely. What's it look like to me?
I know.
Let me tell you what it'll look like to a jury. This is all I do. It's all I've been doing for many years. Want me to tell you what a jury's going to think? The same thing I am right now and the same thing you are.
Yeah, I understand.
We've got some problems. You need to tell me why you're not an accomplice to this murder.
Why am I not?
Yeah.
Because I would never want Robert dead. I would never want him dead. Ever.
Yes, you did. You guys have been talking for weeks and weeks about how this is God's will. That you guys get together and marry. It's all God's will. It's almost every conversation of every day about how killing your husband and you two getting together is God's will. Bathsheba? Didn't we talk about that?
They had said...
Tell me that story. Tell me the story of David and Bathsheba.
I don't know that. I don't know it.
You don't know that story? He says that's our life, and you went yes.
Well, whatever I read,
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember.
He takes another man's wife and has her husband murdered, killed. It's a little other way around here. It sounds to me like the woman fell in love with another man and had her husband killed.
I would never want Robert killed, ever.
Why'd you tell him where Robert's at?
I was going to see him, and I would tell him when Robert was working and stuff, and we'd
Why were you so worried about the DNA stuff he found?
I thought that was good. DNA.
No, that's not what the conversations are. No.
Well, the DNA was a good thing.
No, it's panic. Hey?
No.
I can read a few of them to you. It's not.
Yeah, well.
You talk about how good it is after you figure out we're probably listening to you. Before that, it's all panic, which is exactly why we told you that. Okay?
I just didn't want to be publicized as
no,
having
you two already, both of you have already told people about this affair. Why keep it from us? We knew about it from the minute. He's got 500 of your phone calls on his day every day. You think we're not going to know?
I thought that I didn't know. I was worried about that, and I know it doesn't look bad. I know that it looks bad, but
I think it's past look bad.
Yeah, I get it.
It looked bad for a while, and then it got bad because we've got other stuff that you have to know. We can't tell you all of this. This thing's got to get prosecuted, okay? But it looked bad for a while, and then it just got bad, and I think it's because it is bad.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's bad.
All we talk about is this: we have to stop sinning, and you guys are still together. I'm confused with these calls. I really am. Do you think God meant for you and Jonathan to be together? Is that what you guys are talking about?
That's
when you're praying that the DNA doesn't let us find out Would you want me to read that one to you?
I knew.
You're praying that the DNA doesn't let us find out. Find out what? If his DNA is at the scene of the murder, what am I going to find out? That you two are laying around together? We'll find out that Jonathan killed him. We already knew that. We had those motorcycle pictures long before you know it. Okay? When we had somebody call us and say, you need to look at this guy right here, months ago, not weeks. Because he's calling us up, crying, trying to apologize for something, and we haven't figured out what he did. But he keeps crying and apologizing.
Yesterday, when I told you that the secret rooms tip came in and we had a John, how come you gave me 2 different John's names?
Because that was John. Those were the Johns that Rob worked with.
Why wouldn't you just tell me then? I mean, you had to know that shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah, I felt like, oh, Jonathan, okay. Well,
Why wouldn't you tell me?
because I...
Here's the deal. It's not just about an affair. Your husband was murdered. That's more important than this freaking affair you guys were having. You know what I mean? Here's another thing. I can tell you, I don't care where the hell I was at. Day, night, whatever. If my wife was murdered, I would be standing at that fucking scene, finding out why and what, getting some answers out. And you didn't even come out there.
They told us that we weren't allowed to.
I don't care if they told me I couldn't go out there. I would be there, standing there, saying,
Oh, I wanted
tell
to.
me something. You didn't. I don't care if they told me I couldn't. You're going to tell me that I can't drive to fucking Tehachapi? It's a free world. I'm going to go where I want to go. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to talk to whoever and find out what's going on. That's suspicious to me, too. I mean, I know you're having an affair. You're living two...
Oh, I wanted to come up to...
You're living 2 different lives and stuff, like you said.
They said it was all rope talk and they won't let anybody else.
I don't care. I wish should have been getting my way to that crime scene and find out what the hell happened to my wife.
Yeah.
When he told you that's him in the video, why were you not burning his phone up to tell you I found out who killed my husband?
I mean, he said it looked like him.
Because your relationship with Jonathan is more important than your husband was.
No.
You should have been tearing his phone up. Jonathan just told me that's him in the video. Okay? Why didn't we get that call?
I asked him, I said, what
Well, you don't need to ask him anything. Tell me why you didn't call us.
Because he said it could have been planted, like it could
No,
have been.
there's no could have. Okay? That's not. It's a glass of water. It's not a house. It's not a car. I can't tell you that. Well, that could be a chair. It's a glass of water. That could be me in the video. What do you mean? It could be you. It either is or is not. And if he's in the video, that's the video of the suspect. We all know that. You know that, don't you?
And
That guy in that video walked into the place where your husband was and killed him and then ran off. And he tells you that could be me in the video. What did you think? I'm more than confused here, Sabrina. I'm really telling you. I think you're flat in the middle of this murder. I think you set your husband up and had him killed by Jonathan so you two could be together.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that's not going to happen. Ever.
Yeah,
Okay? You need to get that through your head now. You are not going to be together. You're going to end up going to prison for the rest of his life. And I've got some serious doubts about you. Okay?
Okay, understood.
There's no reason to tell your boyfriend exactly where your husband is working. Absolutely none. Right down to the building. What's the purpose? There can only be one. Tell me another one. I'm waiting. Tell me why you would tell him exactly where Rob's at. When he told you that could be me in the video, that should have been the end of it right there.
And then I told you that that was our suspect, and you didn't say anything. You know what I mean? I said, this is our suspect. And, no, okay. Gig's up. That's Jonathan Hearn. He didn't tell me anything.
I should have told you that.
I should have.
The black helmet. I did.
He never
I couldn't
told you
see.
it was him in the video, Sabrina. You already knew it. Okay? If he told you he did this, and he told you it's because you guys wanted to be, he wants to be with you, you need to tell us now. If not, all we're left to think with is that you set this whole thing up. If he went and did something stupid, hey, you need to tell us now.
Well, you have it right there.
I don't have it. I want it out of your mouth because we've not got any truth out of your mouth. And if I don't start
Well,
getting
he said
something,
it
I've told
last-
you, I'm left to believe exactly what I really believe. Somebody told him where Rob was, exactly where Rob was, and he went over there and killed him. And you know, if we've been listening to what you guys have been talking about for weeks and weeks, what we've got, okay?
Yeah, I understand.
When he comes down here and he purposely tells you we haven't got nothing just to see what you'll say, and you burn up the phone. They got nothing, okay? We're okay, they ain't got nothing. What's it sound like? What will it sound like?
Well, he did say that yesterday, and I don't.
At what point did he tell you he shot Rob? And don't tell me he didn't. I know better.
He said that was him yesterday.
No. Nope. I ain't gonna cut it. Hey,
He never said he
you
shot.
think about 6 or 7 old ladies sitting on that jury, and this guy says, that's me in the video. Huh? And they said, what happened? I don't know. She didn't cut. She still, it took us, 15 minutes into an interview to get her to say that. She didn't call us. Hey? And the prosecutor says, folks, that's how much she cares about the husband. Okay? Her new boyfriend kills him, and she don't even care. And what will your kids think when they find out? And the whole world is going to find out in the next 3 days because all this paperwork goes public. Not a thing we can do about it. Okay? All kinds of stuff. Phone calls, everything. You want people hearing some of that stuff without explaining some of this stuff to us?
No.
Tell me when he told you he killed your husband. Because he did, and he told you. Okay? Or you knew it already. If he didn't tell you, you knew it already. And you knew it before he did it.
I didn't know.
Then how did he find out where your husband is to go kill him?
It's my fault.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yes. When he asked about where your husband is, what do you think he's asking for? Go buy him a milkshake? Say, hi, I'm doing your wife? But what do you think he's going to do? When did Jonathan tell you he did it? Don't tell me yesterday again.
He never
Yes, he
came
did.
out and
Yes, he
said,
did. Yes, he did. You guys are doing nothing but hiding this thing the whole time. Yes, he did.
No.
Well, what are you trying to hide?
I know. I know it doesn't look good.
No. There's a difference between doesn't look good and absolutely is not good. This is absolutely not good.
I understand that.
Okay?
I understand that. He never told me that he was going up there that day. I had told him where Robert.
Why? We're still back to that one, and I'm still sitting here waiting for a reason why you would tell Jonathan where your husband is. Are you going to come up with some answer between now and trial time?
They're going to see each other. So I could talk to him.
About what?
Why? That's why.
About what? What's he going to say? I got to know.
You know.
I'm sending my boyfriend to talk to my husband.
No, he never said he was
What
going
did you
to
think
see
he
him.
was going to do if he's asking about where Rob's at?
He didn't ask that day.
Why did you tell him?
I told him like prior in conversations.
Why?
He'd asked.
What?
I believe
Just-
about Tehachapi. Like we just talked about like what Rob did and just talked.
You
about
didn't know what
everything.
Rob did?
Yeah, up in Tehachapi as a responder.
Okay, so why is it important for anybody in the world, really, to know exactly where Rob's at?
Well, from your now on the other side, I don't know.
Did you ask him, hey Jonathan, don't you think it's odd that after I tell you where he's at, somebody goes over there and kills him for no apparent reason?
I did say.
And?
I did have.
And?
I did
What was
have
the answer?
questions.
What did he say? Oh no, I didn't?
Yeah, he just said that's crazy.
And you believe him? Enough to stay with him, you did. But make the future plans. Start talking about how you're going to raise Rob's children with him.
I can't believe it.
Jonathan ever tell you about the handguns he owns? How many?
I just knew that he had one gun.
Talk about a 45 that he owned, 45 caliber.
I didn't know what kind it was.
And he's got one and it's missing. Nobody can find it. I wonder where that's at. 10 caliber Jews kill your husband. The only thing worse than keeping the murder weapon is getting rid of it when it's registered to you. Not being able to tell us where it's at. Oops, I lost it. Oops, I don't know where it's at. Oh, I forgot where I put it.
That's what he said.
You know what I mean? You know how stupid that sounds? But seriously, that's almost as believable as I told him exactly where he was at, and he ends up dead in that spot, and I don't think this guy killed him. Did you tell anybody else exactly where Rob was at that day?
Well, yeah, I mean, being in Tehachapi, you know. I didn't tell Jonathan, like, directions that day. It was prior, like we had talked about.
How did he find them?
Months. It was months. I'd say probably months prior. And I want to remember how exactly our conversation went.
So how does Jonathan know he's there that day?
I had told him.
You told him Jonathan's at Tehachapi.
No, Robert isn't.
Robert's at Tehachapi, working. And that day he gets murdered, and you don't figure that out.
I had talked to Jonathan.
And you don't bother to tell him or anyone else, by the way, the day my husband is murdered, I told my boyfriend where he was. What's it sound like? What's it gonna sound like, Sabrina?
I understand that.
I can go on and on with this thing, and that's going to happen at the trial, but I'm not going on much longer. The rest of this you're going to hear later, and probably not going to wish you had, ever. Okay? If you didn't have any part of this thing, and we all think you did, or you wouldn't be here, you need to start figuring out how to convince us that you didn't now. I told you, if he did something stupid, and you didn't know he did it, and you had nothing to do with planning it, okay? And he says, sorry, honey, I had to do this for us to be together. Whatever he did, whatever he told you, you need to tell us now.
Yeah, I
Okay?
understand.
If you're going to stick to this, yesterday he finally told me he killed my husband, basically.
Well, these conversations have been the same, you know, since.
No, they haven't. No, they've changed drastically all the time. The only major theme is God wants you two to be together, according to him. And God sees everything and knows everything. What did God see the day Rob got killed? Same thing we saw. His motorcycle, Jonathan's motorcycle leaving the crime scene. Okay? I mean, who does he think he's fooling? Who are you guys fooling here? I don't get it. Trust me, Sabrina, I've never talked to anybody yet that thought they wouldn't get away with it, or you wouldn't do it. Everybody does. It's all well planned. All of it.
Yeah.
All of the interviews are rehearsed on the phone with him. Yeah, we listened to them. They were impressive. I'm going to tell you exactly what to say and not say, and we're going to Google DNA and Google all this stuff to make sure that we're not giving them enough information to find out. Okay? But that stuff we already knew.
Yeah.
Now, before this thing comes to an end, okay, I'm going to ask you one more time. Did Jonathan tell you he killed your husband?
He never told me that. Detective Pirate just all led up to all the things that he'd said. Led up to that. Hi.
Hello. If you don't have anything for us, I think we need to get you to jail. I'll take that as a yes, I do not have anything to tell you. Is that fair? Is that pretty fair?
I said everything that we...
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you told him the same thing that you told me, only I wasn't patient for 4 hours. I was kind of trying to move it along after about an hour of listening to you tell me nothing. He's a lot nicer than me, a lot more patient. So what I need you to do is I need you to stand up and turn around.
Sabrina was subsequently transported to the Kern County Jail, the same facility as John, and booked on suspicion of conspiracy to commit murder. But in an unexpected turn of events, she was released 2 days later because detectives didn't have hard enough evidence that she was linked to Robert's murder. Sabrina would walk free for the next 2 years while detectives looked for anything that could prove that she set her husband up. But time after time, they hit a dead end. By late 2016, John's trial was only a few months away, so detectives teamed up with the prosecution in a last-ditch effort to nab Sabrina. They offered John a plea deal. He would receive a lighter sentence if and only if he agreed to testify against the very woman he threw his life away for. After some consideration, John accepted the deal, and in January of 2017, Sabrina was arrested and charged with murder, attempted murder, accessory, conspiracy, soliciting a crime, and poisoning. At his trial a few months later, John kept his word and testified to how he and Sabrina had plotted to kill Robert so that they could be together, including their attempt at poisoning him months prior to the shooting.
Her frustrations with Rob became my frustrations, her demons. As ironic and sad as this sounds, for Rob's sake, she expressed that he would honestly rather be dead.
As a result, John's charge was reduced from murder to manslaughter, and he was sentenced to 25 years and 4 months in prison. To no one's surprise, Sabrina still submitted a plea of not guilty and showed no remorse during her highly publicized trial.
Why in this did you call Jonathan Hearn or speak to Jonathan Hearn to let him know that Detective Meyer had called you and asked you to call him?
Jonathan had asked me to always be in touch with him in regards to, let him know what was going on. And at this point, I did not, I'm sorry.
You had 80 text messages incoming and outgoing to Jonathan Hearn.
I was having an affair. Yes, I had the best of both worlds, but not really.
In February of 2018, she was found guilty of 4 of her 6 charges and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison.